skill, if you had to personally, or for those of you in the room, you can do a quick shout out, if you wanted to personally change from a no into a yes, would you want to work on? Which one for the organization would you want to turn a no into a yes? Where do you need to actually improve the most, you think, for NPCA in terms of innovation skills? Type that in for me now. I have a challenging the status quo. That's very interesting. Ooh, smart risks is a big one. I just got 4 smart risks that just came in, investing in smart risks, challenging the status quo, and another one in smart risk. Creative problem solving, continuous learning, future focus. Overwhelmingly of the people that have just typed in, it was investing in smart risks. Very interesting, very interesting. Okay. I talked to you about this group, this financial services firm, which obviously is very different than what you do, but not so much in terms of culture. These are some of those 12 people that got together, and over 12 weeks, they actually created a culture change program that stuck, was interesting, and created a toolkit that can help you both better invest in smart risks and start to create change. They identified the behaviors that actually I just gave you in that diagnostic, and I will make that diagnostic available to you along with the recording of this afterwards, so you can do that with your individual teams and actually try and identify, you think, in your own business unit or function, the behaviors that you want to improve on, because I think that could be helpful. The group that actually I'm going to talk to you about here that created this toolkit named themselves I-Squared, Instigators with Influence. These are the little Lego trophies we gave them at the end for all the good work they did to create the tools that I'm about to show you. So here we go. I'm going to tell you a few tools that I'd love to hear if you could use these with your own teams. They're simple, they're easy, and they're ones that we use with innovators all over the world in profits and nonprofits to get going. The first thing's a toolkit I'll show you, and it has barrier busting tools and business building tools or organization building tools. And then the second piece are behavior changers. They're what I call little bigs, the things you can do, the small things every day that create big impact. Let me show you how you can kill your company or organization and a little bit about this toolkit. Here are those barrier busting tools. There's really 4 of them. One is around killing your own company, how you would pretend to be an outside or competitor to your organization and actually try and put it out of business. There's also things called killer queries, killing stupid rules, and changing impossible to possibles. I want to show you a couple of these tools right now that I think, well, are things you could use coming right out of here. We ask people with killer questions, and I'm going to show you a few of these questions. What are some of the uncomfortable questions, provocative questions that you wish you could ask in your organization, but you just don't? You don't because it would be political suicide. We just don't have that kind of culture. We're too agreeable, but we don't really move forward because of it. Or you're too busy trying to get the answer and look smart that we've forgotten how to ask good questions. Well, one tool we have around killer queries, killer questions, is what are some of the questions you'd love to ask to change your culture? And we have over 100 questions that are provocative, inspiring, uncomfortable, that can really move you forward. And let me give you some of the example of those questions. 1. It's 2025. We're now the best organization in the world to work for. What did we do to earn this award? Here's another one. Who are the rock stars in our industry? Why do the people there work there? And how do those people behave daily? You're CEO or head of the organization for the day. What 2 behaviors would we change here at NPCA with our employees, and why? You've just written a tell-all book about your organization. What secrets did you reveal? And finally, here's one I love. If we could undergo a corporate culture exorcism, what 3 evil customs would we eliminate? You can see how these are a little bit more provocative questions than just saying, hey guys, how do we want to be more innovative? So that's kind of interesting. Now let me ask you a question. If you could ask a very provocative question right now with an NPCA, what would you ask? Type that into your questions box for me right now, and I'm going to shout out some of those here in a little bit. What provocative question would you love to ask to drive people to be more innovative, if you could? And there'd be no repercussions. Think about that for a minute and feel free to type that into your questions box for me. Asking provocative questions is a great way to start a culture to move people forward. Here's one that just came in that I love. If you could ask a question that would get anybody to come to our organization, what would it be and why? Here's another one. How many times have you not asked a question because you were too afraid to ask? Other than cost cutting, let me see it here. Other than cost cutting that we're doing right now, how can we change our business model more radically to deal with our current funding environment? Very good one. Those are really great because those are open-ended questions, not yes/no questions that put people on the defensive. That's a great way to start innovation conversations moving forward. Let me give you another one that I think is great, and I think one that will really help transform the culture. Just like Kill the Company, one of the favorite ones that we do around the world is an exercise called Kill or Change the Rules, or what we like to call Kill a Stupid Rule. This actually is a great exercise that came from Commerce Bank, and it was started in the 70s when the CEO there said, hey, let's just create a bank that can be open 7 days. Who said we can't do that? Actually, no one said you can't have a bank open 7 days, just no one had ever questioned that rule. And what he realized was that in organizations, nonprofit or profit, we have a lot of rules that we just never question. So it's a really healthy exercise to do the following. Get your team in a room and ask them, what rules would you love to kill or change to help us be more innovative? What rules would you love to kill or change to be more productive and efficient? And most importantly, how would you change these rules? Now, the only thing I would tell you is you have to set one guideline. There's red rules and green rules. Red rules are those rules that you just can't change because it would be illegal, it's against government practice, etc. Excuse me. Everything else is a green rule and is open for change. Here's what you're going to find. The first thing is if you get a team in the room and you say, hey guys, let's kill or change some rules. I'm going to give you 10 minutes to do that. First of all, at the end of 10 minutes, they're going to beg you for more time because they want so much to kill so many things because they've never been given the chance before. The second thing you're going to find is what they come up with are not rules. They're going to be policies, procedures, reports, annoying things that happen to them every day that if we could just stop doing them, we could transform how we work. The great thing about this exercise is you get quick wins. You get things that you didn't even know were happening. You didn't realize that people assumed they couldn't do X, Y, Z. You get ways that you could streamline everyday occurrences, meetings, emails, policies that can make everybody's to-do list shorter. Kill a Stupid Rule is a great exercise. This is actually an example of one we recently did with a company that said, hey, give us all your rules that you want to kill. And we actually plotted them up on a 2x2. And we said, listen, on the left-hand side is all the rules that they're easy versus difficult to implement. And on the bottom of the grid, it was how much impact they would have on the organization if we changed them from low to high. Now, obviously, all the rules that we had people put up in the upper right-hand quadrant were easy to implement and had a high impact on the organization. So we looked at those rules and we said, what themes do we see here and what's stopping us from getting rid of these right now? These are quick wins. With the organization's chart that I'm showing you right here, we killed 5 rules in an afternoon that changed their lives dramatically. Think about how you could do that with your organization. Here's a shout out to everybody right now. I'd love to get into the questions box. What one rule would you love to kill right now that would help you be more innovative at your job? Let me ask it again. What one rule would you love to kill that would help you be more innovative at your job? We had somebody type in here, weekly check-ins, IGP. I have no idea what that means, but it sounds good to me. We also had a 9 to 5 schedule, dress code. I don't know what that means. Reports. Mandatory collaboration, status meetings. We get status meetings a lot. Reporting. I'm not sure what type of reporting that was for. This is a great exercise, again, for you to write down and even think about post this webinar. What rules would you change and why to help you be more innovative? Okay, let me move on here. Killer queries, killing stupid rules, asking people to turn impossibles into possible, those are barrier busting kind of tools. What about business or organization tools? We have a lot of fun ones. I'm going to show you the first 2. One is called wildcards and another one is called assumption reversal. Assumption reversal. Of course, number 3 is a fun one too I'll come back to, called ideas to get you fired, but we'll do that one last. Let me tell you about wildcards. Wildcards is great in an organization that always plans for the best or doesn't have contingency plans when things don't go as planned. And I get from a lot of the responses I've had here in the questions box today that you're under tight budget constraints. But what I've found is that the organizations, quite frankly, this might not be what you want to hear, that are under more constraints are usually the ones that are more innovative. It's easy to innovate when you have all the resources, time, and money in the world, but the best and most creative solutions come when people are constrained. We usually get people in the room and we ask them, to become the most innovative organization in the world in 12 months. How would you do it? Sky is the limit. And you get people whiteboarding, and they come up with amazing things. And then about halfway through the brainstorm, we say, oh, sorry, we forgot to tell you something. Group number 1, you have half the time, but you still have to make us the most innovative organization. Group number 2, oh, you now have no money. I'm sorry, all your funds have been pulled. Oh, group number 3, now you have no staff. Sorry. You have to figure out how you can still reach our goal with actually no staff or no additions to staff whatsoever. Another group, we might say, oops, you still have to meet our goals of becoming the most innovative, but you can't launch any new product or initiative to do it. You have to use what we have only. I will tell you, it is amazing what people come up with. We actually worked with New York City Public Schools here, and they came up with some of the most dramatic collaborations between functions. They actually were able to shift funds in between different groups, and without staff, they actually were able to pull in a really interesting innovation and intern program, a way to still meet their goal, even though they had wildcards. Now let me give you another one that is actually one of my favorites. This one is called assumption reversal, and I'd be interested if anyone here on the phone has ever done something called assumption reversal. This is an incredibly powerful tool. What we do is, let me give you an example and then I'll show you how you can apply it to your work. Assumption reversal teaches you to list all the assumptions you have about a project, your function, your organization, and then invites you to turn them on their head. Let me show you an example just using, well, let's use a restaurant as an example. Here's some assumptions about what people would say about in an innovation exercise. A restaurant, it has to have a menu, it has to have a chef, it has to have a location, right? Those are all things a restaurant has to have. Well, then we invite people to reverse those assumptions. Now, reverse doesn't mean opposite. Reverse means alternative. Reverse means alternative. The reverse of a menu might be no menu. Mix your own ingredients. We have a tablet for a menu, not a paper menu. A chef might be a celebrity chef, a robot chef, a make your own meal. Location might be no location, secret location, or, well, maybe we just eat outdoors, right? What's interesting is then you have people come up with ideas based on the reverse. That's how the real disruptive ideas happen, based on the reverse. You break your assumptions, you turn them on your head, you stretch them in new ways, and boom, you can come up with things that are really new and different, like, well, Don Le Noir. Don Le Noir is a restaurant that actually started in Paris. It's in London, Brussels, it's in Russia, it's in New York now. I'm not sure if you have one in the DC area where some of these offices are, where you're calling in from. But Don Le Noir is actually dining in the dark. So you don't need lighting, and you don't need to just rely on your sight. When you're actually in a restaurant, you're going to be dining in the dark. Everyone comes in. They actually are little LED lights that the waiters have when they sit you down. Of course, when people first come in, they talk very loudly because they can't see where they're going, but eventually it settles into a nice dining experience in the dark. Anyone on the phone here done Dinner in the Sky? This is a promotional picture actually for Dinner in the Sky. This is dining at about 500 feet in the air. It's a franchise. It's done all over the world. These are a bunch of professional chefs. You can see the crane up above. You don't need a location that's permanent to dine. This is gourmet dining, sky high, with the best views in the world. And here's one more I'll show you based on reversals that I think is just really funky and cool. This one is in Hamburg. This is, actually you can see a little screen here, a computer screen down by some of the seats. That's a touch screen menu where you actually pick the preset menu or dinner you want to have. It's actually sent electronically upstairs to the kitchen because there are no waiters or wait staff, and you can see the little roller coaster that's spinning around there. Your dinner comes in a box down that little roller coaster and arrives